Hello, welcome to the It's All Good show. Luc is here for a chat. My name is Denise Belisle, and I'm a serenity expert and positive intelligence specialist. Just in case you wonder, I work with professionals 50 and over that are empty nesters or soon to be, so that they can rock the second half of their life and shift from the chaos and the crisis to the oasis and their paradise life. So enough about me. I'll tell you more, but that's okay. I invite you to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Here it is. So it's at Denise Belisle. When you subscribe to my YouTube channel, you can click on the little bell so that you get all the notice whenever I go on, and then you don't miss any of these interviews. You can look at the list also of all the people I have interviewed so far. You might find one that's just what you need to hear today. And beside that, also, if you want to be on my show or if you want to be in touch with me, you can book a call with me at tiny.cc/talk with Denise. So now let's talk about why I call this show It's All Good. It's all good because, first of all, it's my favorite cup. It's all good. And I love that saying because that's how I'm running my life now. When something happened, whether it's 5 minutes ago, 5 years ago, even 5 seconds ago, I can't change it. I tried several times, I'm telling you, and you probably have tried to, but it's impossible to change the past. So what can you do about it? Say, hey, it's all good. And I have a friend that adds something on top of that. And I was like, oh, that's very ingenious. And now she said, it's all good. And now our job is to find out what's good about it. So there's always something. It's like the yin and the yang. There's always that black little dot in the white and that white little dot in the black, which represent the balance between good and evil, or it's all good and what's good into that. And what about the future? Well, you can't predict the future either. I was just having a conversation yesterday with someone, and they were telling me that they had planned different things for their event and this and that. And you know what? Didn't work out. Nothing worked out the way they had planned. And I say, well, that's why I say in my show, it's all good, because sometimes you may plan like to the second and to the line, and that's going to go there and that's going to go there, and life happened. So why stress over the future when you don't know exactly? You can plan, yes, of course you can. If you have a trip and you're going for 20 days, you want to know what's going to happen, which hotel you're going to stay at and all that. But just let the universe guide you and everything will work out. So today I'm really excited to have Colleen Strube with me. And she's let me put that up. She's a follow-up fortune finder. And I'm really excited because in business, when we do follow up, if you want business, if you're solopreneur, and even if you work with someone in order to close a deal, for a company, then the fortune is in the follow-up. You've heard that before. And follow-up is so important. So let's welcome Colleen and let her talk to us about how important following up is. So welcome, Colleen. I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you so much, Denise, for having me on your show. I really appreciate it.
You're very welcome. So tell me, before we get started about, following up and all that technology thing, like, tell me a bit about yourself. So who you are and how you end up doing that type of work that you're doing now. So go ahead.
Yeah, well, I live in Maryland on the East Coast of the United States. I've been here pretty much all my life. So in Maryland, we talked about the weather we were talking earlier. So it's like, wait a minute and it will change. So we can sometimes have all 4 seasons in like a matter of a week, right? So love it. I grew up. I have a husband. We'll be married 35 years, right?
Awesome.
This
Congratulations.
October, and have 3 grown boys. So they're out and about doing their own thing. So empty nesters, as you were saying.
Mm-hmm.
So in that, and I started really, my background is information technology. Back in the days when we had dial-up modems and so forth. I was a coder. I coded. I worked for an accounting firm helping people when we were first starting with like the QuickBooks of the world, right? It's the
Yeah, yeah,
first
yeah,
starting of
yeah.
all that. I actually wrote a program that was a program that integrated a database with a software program to actually run a concrete plant. So when you see concrete trucks running around, so it
Yeah.
was doing that. So loved that. Loved the support. I was always into wasn't like a geeky nerd. I was more of a people person, helping support and
Yeah.
understanding and stuff, and just love that world and love that. And I ended up doing managing for a manufacturing company, managing IT department. And
Okay,
we got,
great.
like all things and things, we got bought out by a big company, and
A
they
lot of
closed the
layoff
plant,
and
and
lots of
that
restructuring
same
your
kind of thing.
life and
I'm like, I don't want to start commuting. I didn't want to move to Nebraska, which is where they were going.
yeah.
So I'm like, okay, well, let me kind of look at starting to do something. The kids were little then, right? So it was like I wanted to spend more time with them. And I always thought the goal was like, oh, if I could work corporate 3 days a week and do my own thing,
Yeah.
4 days a week, be able to volunteer at school and be there and do what they do, that would be like the best of both worlds, right? Have some of the cash flow coming in, but still be able to do the stuff. And so I started to look and go, oh, well, how am I going to do that? Right. I did a network marketing company. I was selling Longaberger baskets and pottery. And I'm like, oh, I need more clients. And then, so I'm like, well, I don't even know how to do that and get more clients. And I happened to talk to somebody and they're like, oh, you should go to a networking meeting. And I'm like,
What?
what's a networking meeting? You're like, what is that? It's like those things that happen in the world that you don't even know they exist until you know they exist, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I went to a networking meeting in the morning and
So
went
just
there.
in case some of the people are like you now, so a networking meeting is
A networking meeting is just basically where groups of individuals who are business owners get together to tell each other about their business, right? And see how they can help each other, right? And there's all
then the
different
exchange
types.
information.
Yeah, there's all different types of networking groups. And in my programs, I teach people about the different types of groups that are out there. This happened to be a category exclusive group that I went to that
Yeah.
morning. And when I came out of that meeting at 9:00, it was September 11th of 2001. So that original September 11th. And it was 9:00. I'm on the East Coast.
Oh
So,
my God.
I'm close to DC. And, I came out and the world was changing, right? Like
Yeah.
it just stopped, right? The world stopped
Yeah.
for a while.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course.
And I just felt like compelled to go back to that meeting the next week. I knew everybody there was okay. And I'm like, for some reason, I'm like, I gotta go back. Right. And I think that when sometimes you look at your life and you can go back and, some people will wake up and go, okay, I'm not doing this anymore. Right. They put a stake in the ground. Right. I didn't really have that. But when I look back, that was that pivotal point. Right. Sometimes you look back at your life and there's a pivotal point. I'm like, oh, that's where I went this way instead of that way.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And that was looking back, that was the time. Right. So that's where I started to really look at networking and doing that, because I joined the group and I immediately they immediately put me on membership committee and education, and I ran the all the positions, right? And I
Yeah.
got into it. And because what happened with, I was working for an IT company, and because of September 11th and everything, they ended up folding. And so then I had time, right? I was unemployed at that point. So
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
I better get into this business thing. So it was kind of like, it wasn't set. Like I didn't have this big plan, right? Oh, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to, get your business going. A lot of times we tell people, right? It's,
Yeah.
if you have the, luxury sometimes to have a job,
Yeah.
you
And
start
do
to
that
build your
part-time and then build it.
part-time job and build it, use your job as the venture capital for your business so that you can then walk away from your job.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't quite
That
have
didn't
that.
work
It
out
was
that way for you.
oh, it's gone. So but I started doing networking. I loved it. I love the heart, the connecting. That's like what
Mm.
feeds my heart. It's like when I talk to somebody and they're like, oh my God, thank you so much for, tell me about this group because I met that, I met this person and now we're doing this webinar together and, that what feeds my heart. And it was like, and I just go out and search for that. Like, who can I connect you with? And my brain works that way. It's kind of like, I think about, like, for a realtor, it's not like, oh, I know one person that needs to sell their house, right? That's not how my brain works. My brain works is like, oh, I know a mortgage person who's going to have lots of people who need to sell, it's like, who can I connect you to at that strategic partner
So
level?
that's a heart of networking. That's the
Yeah.
art, you know?
Yeah. So that's kind of how I got into it. It was like, doing that, and it just kept snowballing, and 21 plus years later, right?
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
22, whatever it is now. I've gone to 5,000 plus events.
Wow.
I've made hundreds, thousands of, hundreds of thousands of
Connections and
people, the connections. I know people all over the world now, based on, the networking I've been doing it. And I just kind of kept curating various tools and things to help me network better. And
wow.
and through that was like, I love helping people who are just getting started doing it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
This
yeah.
is like, don't do all the mistakes I did. Like, I can look back and go, oh,
I can't
because
believe I did
originally,
that, you know?
yeah. Well, originally when I was doing networking, I was doing it for the basket. I was selling a
Yeah,
direct
yeah, of
sale
course, of
company,
course.
and I just did it wrong, right? And looking back, I can say I did it wrong. Like, I should have come out with like anybody who has like products, like if they're selling, skincare or nutrition or things like that, you have products. One, take it to show them, take it to a networking thing and show them, right? Have something tangible to show them. But then what I could have done is I could have made like, I have option 1, 2, or 3. Which one do you want? Right?
Mhm.
Because I left it so open
Yeah,
and
it's like,
nobody
yeah,
did it.
no.
They're like, they were like, oh, I don't know what it is. And where if I would have came out and said, oh, I've got option 1, 2, or 3, which one do
Yeah,
you want?
it's
Right.
easier, yeah.
So, yeah, and that works for everybody now, right? If you
Yeah,
have a
of course, of
program and,
course.
you're looking at that, like they say, a confused mind doesn't buy. So it's
Yeah.
like, oh, and I'm not great with choices. Just give me 3, narrow it down, give me 3 choices, and then I'll decide, right?
Cool, but I wanna ask you, like, I'm very curious about your name, like, Follow Up Fortune Finder, not founder, Finder. So, how did you come up with that name? It's very original.
That was so you might have we do a lot of work with the MinkLife world and community, and that's how I know
Yeah.
Denise through there. And like I said, I was doing all this networking, and people would call me the follow-up queen, but I didn't own it, right? It was like,
Uh-huh.
oh no, like even the word follow-up, I don't know about like your audience out there is listening, but if you ever hear the word follow-up and you just go, oh, this is like icky, like,
It's like,
like,
ugh, I don't
like
wanna
I don't
cold
want to
call
do
people or
it.
even warm call, you go back, like, at that time, you come back with a pocket full of business card, and then you
Yeah,
gotta
and
call them. It's
yeah,
like
and then it's like, and then it gets pushed to the back burner, and then it's a week lalater, and then you're like,
and
oh,
then
is
in the
it too late?
shoebox,
Is
and
it,
then the shoebox become like
And I was there doing it too. And it just, the thing, and I'm like, oh my God. So I was talking with a business coach, and I was like, eh, I do all this work, I do this, but if I could just fall in love with this process, I'd be golden. And I was like, oh my God, that's it. You need to fall in love with follow up. That was the thing. We were like, oh my goodness, we need to do that. And then the other not slight shift, but a major shift was in the mindset around follow up, right? So many people think follow up is I need to follow up with this person to see if they're ready to buy, right?
mhm.
Are they ready to take the next step? Do I need to give them more information so that they can buy, right? So it's always about getting something from them, right? Where if you switch your mindset around, like, I want to connect, it's just the next connection of the
Yeah,
relationship.
yeah, yeah.
when you change that, then it was like, oh, I just want to connect with Denise to see how she's doing today. If today happens to be the day that she's like, yeah, I'm ready to start your program, that's great, and yes, you need to ask for the order and all that, but it's about, just making those next connections and building. And so many people stop too soon, right? And they say it takes 10 plus, and with social
Yep.
media now
Yep.
and
Yep. That's what they're
information,
saying.
we're just overloaded, right? Everyone's just overwhelmed with information and stuff. So it's like, just build a relationship, right? And when you think about follow-up, think about it as being that next connection. That changed. That was the thing that changed
Hmm.
for me. It's like when
It's
I
like
do,
it's like getting sober one day at a
yeah.
time. So it's like falling in love with follow up. It's like, okay, one call at a time, one
Mhm.
touch at a time. If
Yep.
it, even if it,
Yeah.
I imagine like having one touch at a time could be just go on their Facebook page, see what they're posting, and comment and put
Yes.
something of value into whatever they're doing.
Very
Right.
much
So
so.
that's a follow up event,
That's a
right?
touch, right? And that's what when we teach it, we talk about doing social media touches. We talk about, DMs. We talk about sending physical greeting cards and picking up the phone and doing all these different pieces because they all compound together, right? It's
Yeah.
not just one thing that's going to do it. It's you just keep layering all these things on top of each other, and it's just building that relationship stronger and stronger. And once they realize that, you know, you you have the solution to the problem that they have, you're not, then it's done, right? It's like, oh,
Eventually they will contact you, right?
yeah.
Eventually
Yeah.
there will be a time where like like you say, oh, like for example, me, I said I work with empty nesters,
Hmm.
but people that have kids that are 16, 15, 16, they say, yeah, no, I'm not there, right? But then as they see that the kid's going to college and they might not come back and all that, and they say, oh, maybe I should talk to Denise because
Yeah.
I don't want to be caught having the empty nester syndrome, right? And I just talked to someone today and she said it was really hard when my kids left the house.
Hmm.
It was so empty. It was so, like I didn't know what to do. And, I didn't like it at all.
Yeah, mine
And
didn't leave. Like when mine left, it was kind of interesting, and I'm probably in denial still, right? But it's because when they left, it wasn't like a big production, right? They kind of went, oh, well, we'll go over here, or we'll do this and stuff, and it wasn't like, oh, today's the day they're moving
the
out,
big
right?
move out, like the truck comes in and
Yeah,
they
like
put their bed in there and like
we didn't have that for any of
the
them.
drama. Yeah.
It's kind of funny. But they just kind of did it, kind of thing. So that was interesting. Yeah, I mean, one of the things I tell people is, and this works perfectly with what you're saying, is the, that know, like, trust, right, factor that we all hear about. I
Yeah.
always say, and remember. Right. So, and that's perfect for what you just said is like, yes, they're 16, 17. So you're building that know, like, trust factor, and
Nurturing
you're
them
staying
to
top
what
of
comes.
mind so that when they have that problem, now their kids are out, they're like, oh yeah, I remember that. Where if you just said, well, okay, here's my information, then never follow up with
Yeah.
them,
Just like it's gone.
out of sight,
Yeah.
out of mind, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, that's pretty cool. And and also, like, tell me a little bit about your process. So let's say now, because I suck at follow up, and I'm a person that doesn't do good follow up, and I say, "Oh, Colleen, I'd love to know how to do that." So let's say I say, "Okay, Colleen, I'd love to be working with you as a client." So what's going to happen then? What's going to happen in my life? That are you going to do the follow up with me, or to me with me, or are I going to do the follow up on my own, or how does that work?
Yeah. So what we did
Because
is,
to fall in love with the follow up, it means that I have to do it, right?
you have to do it. Yeah. So a couple things that happen, a couple things that I love, right? For one, we need to be having fun doing it, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of times the way I have fun is hanging out with other great people, right? So that was part of the program, is like I needed to bring people together to
Hmm.
do it, right? I also find that having a set time, like a meeting, like almost, I guarantee you, if you guys set a meeting with somebody, you're going to show up, right? You're not going to flake on them,
Yeah,
right?
most of the time. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So people are going to do that, right? But a lot of times people will flake on themselves, right? I know I do it, right? I set a meeting saying, okay, at 1 o'clock, I'm going to work on
On
my
my
follow-up.
calendar, I'm doing
I'm
this.
going to do this.
Oh,
Then
I think I'm
something
gonna have
else,
lunch, you know?
yeah, something else comes up, something, it's like I let myself off easy. I know that, right? So I'm like, okay, well, I need to do my follow-up too. So I need to fix that, right? Well, the easiest way to fix that for me was to invite other people to do it at the same time.
Oh,
So I really create the program because I needed it, right? So I created the program to help me actually do the process, right? So we do follow up. Typically, at least once a day, we have a session. Sometimes we have 2 sessions a day,
okay.
and when you come try the we come and do the follow up. You come, right? You bring your stuff that you're going to be working on. And then we have a process to go through some timers, right? Super easy. So we give you
Yeah.
9 minutes to work in a particular area,
Okay.
and which kind of helps you stay focused. Like
So let's
sometimes,
say
like,
go on Facebook. We have
yeah.
9 minutes
So
on
it's nine.
Facebook.
Yeah. And we look at a couple different areas. As I think I talked before, is that we talk about, following up on social media, connecting, like you said,
Mhm.
sending, so we'll say one of the days of the week, we'll say, okay, well, go out to social media, use Facebook, BeeKonnected, LinkedIn, whatever you're using, and, go comment on people. So then
Yeah.
you're commenting and doing that for 9 minutes. And then the next section would be one-to-ones, right? So the key to building your business obviously is to having conversations with
Booking
people.
appointments.
So it's like, okay, what conversations did you have that you need to follow up, maybe send some information, and then what conversations do you need to book, right? So we give you some time to do that.
Uh-huh.
And then the third one is like personal touch. So it's like, do you want to send some cards to say top of mind with someone? Do you want to, text somebody? And we do that. So
Mm.
you're doing your work, we're doing it together. So there's community. So if you have a question, like we answer this all the time, it's like, oh my God, this person just wrote this response. How would you guys handle this? Or I don't know what to say to
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
ask for an appointment. We can talk through that. Then we celebrate, right? Because then we kind of keep track. It's like, oh, well, how many messages did you send? Did someone call you, make an order or any of that? So we celebrate during the time, what you got done. And it's amazing. You think about, like, oh, 9 minutes isn't a long time, or, what the time set. It's like you can get a lot done in a very focused
If you're
time.
focused, yeah, because
Yeah.
if you
And you
use
get it
that
done.
9 minutes and you're not on your phone looking at
Right.
this, doing that, or picking
Yeah,
your
because
nose or
I know I
whatever,
do it, like, when I'm just out there, you go to Facebook to make a comment, and then you
and then
see
you start
something that
reading
you
the
read and
thing and you
stuff.
click on that
But having that,
website, and then you get
yeah,
lost in the spiral
yeah.
of the
But
internet.
having it, other people there, having kind of an accountability. It's a lot of accountability. It's a lot of support, and fun, and it's just like really getting your stuff done. So, and
Oh,
then
cool, cool. That sounds like a lot of fun.
yeah. And we look also at different people to follow up with. So a lot of times people know they need to follow up with their customers. They know they need to follow up with their prospects, but they forget about maybe a power partner or their sphere of influence, just their friends,
Mm,
family, their people who are friends on Facebook, right? They need to
yeah,
know what
yeah,
you're doing, right?
yeah.
And then we also talk about community. So if somebody goes to a Rotary Club or PTA or those kind of organizations, it's like,
Yeah.
hey, these are also people you should be following up with on a regular basis, right? So many people might do it, right? They'll do it in January and then they forget until then it's May and they're like, oh yeah, I haven't talked to anybody
I
for
haven't
there,
talked to these people since a
but if
long time.
when you have it kind of in a system organized, then that way you can, it at least brings it top of mind. And I always tell people this is your time to do your follow-up, right? So if we're working on, power partners and you have a customer you got to follow up with,
Of
then
course,
follow
you
up
do.
with the customer,
Of
right?
course, of course.
And I tell people, if you're on a roll, messaging people and sending out pet messages and things like that, and you're going, keep going, right? It's not like a set thing that it's like,
Yeah,
oh
yeah.
my God, you have to stop.
You're not gonna get punished. Yeah.
It's just to kind of give you that flow and be
Mhm.
able to stay with it.
Yeah.
So
I have a person that a guy that maybe, I don't know, I should check when he sends me those emails, but every 3 months, for example, it might be every 3 months, I get an email from him and say, "Hi, I just want to check, see how things are going," you
mhm.
know, and he's just like, just to keep him top of mind, right? It's
Yep.
nothing more. I say, "Hey, how are you doing?" Sometimes I reply, sometimes I don't, you know?
Yeah, and people use lots of tools to do
Yeah,
that. And
yeah,
with my program, it's more, I tell people it's really more about the habits that you're doing
yeah,
versus the tools. I mean,
yeah,
we have lots of tools that we can use, but the program is really tool independent, right? So if you have a CRM that you love and you're using and so forth, that's great. If you have a spreadsheet is where you keep everything. If you have Trello boards, it doesn't, the tool that we use, it doesn't
yeah,
matter. So I'm not like teaching, okay, you're gonna
yeah,
send
yeah,
this
for sure, for
email at
sure.
this time and stuff. So it's not
Well, you know what
that.
I like about that guy's email, and he might as well just use like a CRM, right?
Hmm.
But because it's so short, that it sounds very personal.
Right.
You get those professional emails with the picture on top and with, like
Yeah.
links and all that. There's no links. I mean, there's a signature, but there's no link. You say, "Hey, Denise, I'm just, just checking how you doing."
Hmm.
And he might, now you see that, I feel bad because I felt that, it was just for me, but it's probably out of his CRM and he's sending that to
Yeah, but that's
1,000
okay.
people. But it
That's
feels
okay. I
personal, and
mean,
that's what people will feel, right? Like if it's just like, "Hey, how are you doing? What's going on in your life?"
yeah, I look at telling people it's a mix of, maybe if you do have automated stuff going, it's a mix of that along with you doing personal
Yeah,
outreach, right? So it's got to be a mix, and the automated stuff is there just to kind of hit that top of mind, right? That it
yeah,
gives you another touch point that you have, that you can do.
yeah,
So.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's pretty cool. And so tell me, are you still attending networking events? Or how did that go for you during COVID? Did you discover a new way to do networking?
Well, actually, I was already doing virtual networking about 5 months before COVID
Oh, wow.
happened. I started a virtual networking chapter of Tea Referral Network,
Oh,
and
nice.
even before that, years before that, I was doing virtual networking because I was doing a lot of masterminds and things like that.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah,
um, so I'm like, oh, I know that you could build relationships online, right?
yeah,
Because I was doing it, and so we started this chapter. So, and I was like trying to get people to join, and they're like, oh no, I have to do in person. I can't do virtual. And I'm like, I think you can. I think it works. I mean, I'm meeting people all over the world, and I think it can work.
yeah,
And
yeah,
oh nope, got to do that. And so of course the pandemic happened, and people like had to do it, So so now, for me, I'm a hybrid. I tell people it's like I love virtual. I still do tons of virtual events. I was actually on a summit today. I was doing. I do. Not as many in persons as I used to do, but I still love in person. And I think the difference for me, the way I figured it out, is like, um, in-person events are where you're really building relationships, right? Where
hmm,
where the conversations just flow differently when you're
yeah,
in person with somebody.
yeah.
The
Especially if
virtual
it's a
one,
free flow networking event, right? Like
right?
a bunch
Yeah,
of
it's
people
like you
standing
go
up,
up.
having a drink, having a bite to eat, and
Yeah.
that's
So
totally different than if you go to a meeting where everybody's sitting around a table and each has their turn to talk, right? It's two
right.
different type of in-person networking event, but
Yeah.
I
And
can
the
see the one
virtual
where you're
one,
standing up with a drink and chatting with people. You can really deepen, right, that relationship and really get to know that person
mhm.
better.
What I find harder now, or where I see it's harder now with the in person, is like getting to the business, right? And I'm like, I am definitely all about relationships, but I need to know really what you do to help me figure out who I can introduce you to, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
sometimes when in person, people keep it too like they don't give you that info, right? Like
Cash, they're
they're
more
just like,
cash, you know, casual.
how's the weather? How's this? And like it's very surface, right? So I feel
And
for
you're there,
me,
get to the
the
point, you know.
yeah, for me, the virtual ones tend to be a little more focused
Focused, yeah.
in here's what I do, here's who I'm looking for, and so forth. So for me, that helps me understand who that person is a little bit better, at
Yeah,
least for what they're doing, right?
yeah,
Then it's okay, well, now let's do like, especially when you first meet somebody, right? And then it's like, okay, well, now let's do a one-to-one and then find out more about what you're doing. So then I have a little more base of understanding of
yeah,
who you are.
yeah.
So, but I think it's like for me, it's a hybrid, right?
So
So
how many networking events are you attending on average per week?
don't take mine because I do way more than what I tell my clients to do, right? So I'm probably doing 5+ events a week,
Okay,
if not
okay.
more.
So so now with
Sometimes,
Zoom and in person, you either get card or scan the QR codes and all that. But let's say Zoom. A lot of people have attended Zoom meeting, and then you save the chat, and then you get that eternal list of names and email and link
mhm.
and Lincoln. And how do you decipher that? What do you do with that list? I have
So
about a million lists on my computer that I never
yeah.
open.
So one trick you can do is take when you copy the chat, okay, you can click save. You can also
Yeah.
go in and copy it, or if you click save, you can open that file and click it and put it in an email and email it to yourself. Because what that does, it makes all the links clickable then. So somebody
So that
typically
makes it one part easier.
yeah, yeah. So that way, and you can tag it easier than if it's on your just on a hard drive on your
Yeah.
computer, right? So
Yeah.
you could have an email and stuff, and you can add it. You could take what I've also done is taken that information and put it in Trello on a Trello card, right? And then
Okay.
I can use that to follow up with people doing it that
And
way.
you just call that Trello card, that networking
No,
meeting at
yep,
that day,
that
that date. Good.
exactly. Yep. I just call it that networking meeting. Here's all the contacts. So and then as I go through. The other thing that I recommend is don't get overwhelmed by going to a networking meeting and you have 20 people there, you have 50 people there, everyone puts their contact info in the chat. Don't get overwhelmed with saying, "Oh my God, I have to follow up with 20 people tomorrow because they told me I have to do that within 24 hours and blah blah blah." Like that's not me. That's not how I do mine, right? So I look at it as like
But what
if
do
you
you say? They say, hey, we were in the same event. And
right.
then what?
So what I do is like if there's people you did a breakout, a lot of times networking, there's a big networking,
Yeah.
everyone
Yeah.
puts it in and they throw you into a breakout room and you
Yeah.
have a conversation with maybe 5 people.
Yeah.
So I focus on those people first,
The
right?
one you were like in a smaller group.
In a smaller group and just say, hey, we attended this thing, I'd love to have a conversation, here's my calendar link, let's have a quick chat, right? Or comment at something they said in the thing, if there's that, you can do that.
If you remember.
And
Yeah.
then if when I go to the network, it's like I'm looking for those 3 to 5 people that I need to follow up with like this week,
Yeah.
right? So the rest of the people, like you can follow up, you can start to build conversations with them, but it might be 2 weeks, it might be 3, and
Yeah.
yes, they might not remember you, right? But when you follow up with them and say, hey, we met at this thing, they'll remember, right? And
Yeah.
and I usually tell people, like sometimes people say, oh, well, it's been 3 weeks, should I follow up or something? I'm like, did they follow up with you? Well, no. Well, then you're the first person to do it, go ahead. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's all about timing, right? And it's all about being specific with those people that you want to build a relationship. And
Yeah.
look at when you're looking for those 3 people, it's like who can I support, right? Who is that, maybe a customer or a person or something that I can support, right? And then like who could support me? Like
hmm
be looking for the strategic partners. Like,
Yeah. It's good
oh,
to have a list of, like, the way I see it is I went to an event with GVology,
mm,
whatever his name is. What's his name? Anyway, he's Canadian. He lives in Alberta. And then he says, look at the people that have the clients before they get to you. Like for me, the
Right.
people that deal with teens or people that deal with, like young children. And then the people, then they're ready to come to me. And then afterwards, who do you work with that's after you or while you're there? For example, I could associate with travel agent, like financial planners. I could
Mhm.
associate with, different things that now the baby boomers, or not the
Right.
baby boomers, but the empty nesters, they have different needs. They want to move their investment, or maybe they want to sell their house, or realtor, and
Right.
all of that. So that's what you're talking about,
Yeah,
strategic
the
partner, right?
upstream, downstream. Yes,
Yeah,
I've heard
yeah,
that. Yeah. And be able, like, what, who has the problem that you solve, right?
yeah,
Whose
yeah,
clients have that problem? And then because you've worked with them, they now have problems, right? I
yeah,
mean,
yeah, yeah.
problem is I got to figure out where I want to travel, right?
Yeah, yeah,
That's a
exactly,
problem,
exactly,
right?
exactly. And
But yeah, I
I'm
mean,
not a travel agent, so
right, because you've worked with them, you've created opportunities for
yeah,
somebody else. So who could that person be,
yeah.
right? And then look at that, and then sometimes you can have, affiliate relationships with people.
Mhm,
You can,
mhm.
just have, passing referrals back and forth,
Yeah,
to
yeah.
things. So
Cool, cool. Well, we could be here all day,
I
already
know
36
I love
minutes. I
talking
was like,
about this. I love talking about people.
that's awesome. So, people want to hear from you. So let's see how they can reach you. So go on your falling in love with followup.com. Could do a jingle with that.
I know, I know. I actually, in one of my networking groups, there's a guy who writes jingles for people, and we were talking. He's a new member, and he's like, "Oh my God, that's like the greatest thing! Fall in love with follow up. I can write a song and all that." So eventually we'll get there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Perfect.
Yeah.
So you can
Good.
reach Colleen there, and she'll be more than happy to offer that. Da, da, da. So what is that? Get level 1 of the Fall in Love with Follow Up program for
Yeah.
free. So what's
So
that?
you guys have to do your follow up anyway, right? We know that. We've already established that people need to do it. So why not come try it out? Come do it with us for free. We give you what's called level 1. Level 1 is our, like, come do your follow up for 2 weeks with us. See the system, see how it works, and just get it done, right? So
Cool.
worst case, you get a couple of you get appointments on your calendar, you get the follow up done, and you just come hang out with us, get to know us a little bit more. I also just created a follow up quiz to kind of, so you can understand your style a little bit.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So that's included. So when you go to that website, just scroll down where it says, "How do you want to connect?" You can just click on, "I want to get level 1 for free," and the quiz, and you just pick your start date of when you want to start and come hang out. I also have all the contacts, to reach me and everything. Can jump on
Cool.
a
That's
calendar.
awesome. That's fantastic. I'm so excited. Now I want to do follow up. You know,
Yeah,
it
when it's
sounds
fun,
like
it's
fun.
cool.
I just got a crush. I'm not in love yet, but I have a
Yeah.
crush.
Well, there you go. So it's a process, right? You don't marry the person on the first date, right? It's a
Yep.
process. You
I
gotta,
just got a crush right now on follow
yeah.
up. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much. It was
Thank
such a
you.
pleasure to have you on the show. And stay there. I'll be right back with you. And I just want to say goodbye to everyone. So, wow, that was awesome. I hope you got some benefit out of that. And that can work with, if you are in even an employee, like sometimes you have to do follow up with the people that you work with, and make sure to do that and follow up often and have different techniques to reach out people. And if you're self-employed or an employer, well, to teach that perhaps the people you work with, so that they can do great follow up on maybe the sales process and all that. So thank you so much for being here. And again, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/at Denise Belisle, or you can book a call with me, tiny.cc/talk with Denise. And I would be happy to have a conversation with you if you're an empty nesters and you want to know how to change from your chaos life into an oasis. Because a lot of my clients, when they reach me, it's because they felt that they feel lonely. Some have depression. It was like, oh my God, my kids are gone. What am I going to do? I have so much time in my life, and I never put energy towards myself. So now, how do I do that? So that's why I'm here. So I wish you an amazing week. Until next time, be kind to one another, and I'll talk to you next week. Goodbye.